Good afternoon and welcome to The Edge. This is our new podcast series where our aim is to dive deep into mindsets, habits, and stories that shape the leaders of tomorrow. Whether you're just starting out or climbing the ladder, we want to share insights that help you grow stronger, smarter, and more resilient in a, no doubt, fast changing, high pressure industry. In this episode, we're exploring a topic that is very close to our hearts: discipline, failure, and growth. We'll talk about why losing actually builds leaders and what lessons sport teaches us about mental strength, habits, and bouncing back stronger than before. It'll be myself and Katie, joined by Chris, obviously a leader with a rich background spanning across sport, hospitality, and leadership. Chris has worked with leaders at every stage of their journey, and he knows firsthand how discipline and resilience are the backbone of lasting success. The topic matters now more than ever in hospitality, where the pace is really relentless and the stakes are high, and developing mental toughness and a growth mindset can make all the difference. Well, Katie, over to you to ask Chris the first question.
Great, thank you, Izzy. So, Chris, you yourself are a leader and have worked with leaders at all stages, and you've seen how discipline and resilience shape the journey of a leader. Can you take us back to a moment in your own career where you had to bounce back from a failure?
Or a few.
That's true, yes.
or a few thousand even, or even this morning. The uh, fun- uh, being is always it's a really hard question to answer. The reality is, I always think failure is a bedfellow. He actually walks me every day, and that's not being melodramatic or anything. I just think that any time you're doing something new or being entrepreneurial, you fail all the time, and actually it's how you learn. I think the big piece isn't about. I mean, there's two parts to it. One, actually, you only learn from failure. You never learn from success. And actually, if I'm honest about it and really candid, when we made the most money, I was most successful was actually probably when I was at my worst, which is always one of those ironies. And actually, the better you get, often you fail more. It is one of those really strange things. Um, yeah, it is. It's true. You're just really nodding there. Yeah, when we were probably our most successful, I probably was sometimes my worst as a leader, because you get influenced by other things as well. And actually, it's only when you're up really working hard and you're striving do you actually make the real progress that you probably need to make. I think that's part one. Part two is, you always, to me, life's a journey, and it's next about how you grow the whole time. And actually, there's a reason why, they all say that, wisdom is wasted or youth is wasted on the young. Because actually, when you're young, you do make mistakes, and you're foolhardy, and you're brave, and you're carefree, etc. And you learn as you go along, and you do things very differently. So it's all a journey of learning the whole time. However, what I would say, which I think is the most relevant piece, is all about choice. And actually, that refers to you two too. Everything in life is a choice. You choose to be happy. You can choose to be miserable. You can choose to bounce back and get off the canvas. You can choose to whinge about the failures. You can choose to learn. And actually, everything is a choice. And the people who are successful actually make the choice to learn and to bounce back. Everything is a choice. And it's a choice to be disciplined. It's a choice to be kind. It's a choice to be who you want to be. And actually, one of my favorite quote that always keeps me going in the hard times is by Theodore Roosevelt, President Roosevelt, the man in the arena. And I'll get the wording wrong, but it's all about, don't pity the man in the arena who may be falling over and getting up again. They're the really crazy ones. Pity the person watching them and criticizing them because they're not living life. And it's absolutely true. I was at a memorial yesterday, and there's a lovely quote by one of the chief executives saying, we have a lot of unpleasant people around us in life. You always celebrate the ones who actually are trying to do the right thing. So you may fail, but actually the reality is it's a journey, it's a choice, and it's whether you make that choice.
Then when it comes to the fear of failure, this is the bit that I always think about. Do you think that's because people haven't failed enough yet? Or, is it just...
Again, it's a choice. I don't think people choose to fail. So again, it goes back to that quote about the people who criticize others but sit on it safely. And actually, one of the things you find, in any leadership role, is that there's always people giving you advice from afar, but they won't actually do it themselves. And it's a choice. It's a choice. Do you put yourself out there? Do you not put yourself out there? Are you prepared to fail? But actually, once you're prepared to fail, it's incredibly empowering. Once you realize just how much you got wrong, I mean, sometimes I will chuckle about just how much I got wrong over my life, which sounds a really strange thing to say, but you think, wow. But in fairness, that's what gives you your learning. The ones who aren't prepared to look at life that way and tell you that they got everything right and they had a career plan and it's all gone to plan, it's just not true. They've lived life within their boundaries. Because to me, it is all about pushing your boundaries, pushing yourself, and learning from that experience.
And that's where sports kind of comes into it, really, isn't it?
Yeah,
Because
it is.
you
Yeah,
really
it
learn
is.
to fail during sport, and that goes into business, doesn't it?
Well, there's 2 points here. I think one, again, as mentioned about, I'll talk about you two. Life is about choices, and you two, particularly, and the audience won't know this, make choices that are unique that others won't do, and makes you two unique. So, Katie, I mean, Katie is a fantastic writer, but she made a choice to dedicate her life to writing, when most people would have followed another route in life. And that took courage. And actually, you can see with your work that everyone loves your articles. But that was a choice that you made to dedicate yourself to something that most people would not have the courage to do. And the same with Izzy. Most people, everyone loves Izzy, but no one knows she's a javelin thrower. Now, admittedly, she's probably throwing javelins at with signs at the end of them. But the point is the fact she goes and trains every day, and actually, what makes her, because she works to set hours, it actually makes her more disciplined in how she has to communicate to people to get the work done. But it's her discipline every day to split her life between the work she does, which is fantastic, and the thing. But it's a choice that most people would never make that choice to put other things first. So it's all about choices and the choices you make. We're all determined by that.
Do you think discipline is one of the main things you learn from sport that goes into business, or do you think there's how many other?
Yeah, I think discipline. Is the key one. I always remember there's a famous video about an army general saying you can tell the leader about how he makes his bed in the morning. I'm not so sure that's true. Or well, I'm certainly a terrible bed maker in the morning. But the I'm not sure about that. But I think it's the choice of will you get up at 6 in the morning every day to train. Will you write every day? It's making sure you work for your disciplines at your skill and craft. So the one thing I've noticed, if you're honest about it, is how many people are really a student of their discipline. How many people expect to get success just because of who they are, and how many people are really prepared to work hard. And the thing I noticed in the workplace are not most people, 90% of people are not prepared to really work hard at their own discipline. They don't research it in their own hours. They don't think deeply about it. They do the job, they do A to B to C to D. And I think the thing which worries me most sometimes when I look at the workplace is people work within very set parameters, but they don't go beyond that set parameter. They never think more deeply than just A to B and have I done my job, and that's it. And I think what sets people out is the ones who go the extra mile.
It's the 1%, isn't it? That's what they say. There's a good quote that says you try to aim to be 1% better every day.
That's Clive Woodward. Yeah, Clive Woodward.
I wasn't going to say who it was in case I got it wrong.
Yeah, Clive Woodward. If you improve by 1% all the time, then you're going to pick up 10% over a period of time, and you're always improving. Yeah, absolutely.
Mm-hmm. And I think it's as well not waiting to start at the right moment. It's just about diving in straight away when you want to, rather than waiting for the perfect moment to do it. Because
Yeah, look, I mean,
procrastination can hold you back so much.
oh, absolutely, Katie. Everyone tells me they need time to research things and time to prepare. You don't just get on with it.
Mm-hmm.
It makes no difference in my mind at all. Actually, people just don't get on with it then. And actually, you only learn from getting things wrong. So if you trial it and pilot it, you can then change. And that's also about the point about failure. Don't be afraid. If you run something, I mean, one of the problems about leadership, if we get back into the subject, is that people do talk in textbook. They tell you what the textbook tells you. And actually, leadership isn't about textbook, in my experience. It's about actually people trusting you and being very genuine and authentic. You may get it completely and utterly wrong. The point is, are you genuine and authentic? Even if you completely got it wrong, then people still stay with you, if that makes any sense. And some of the really great managers over the years may not be conventional, may not be authentic, but they'll go for it and they'll be genuine and authentic. And that's the same. If you actually go out and actually have the conversation publicly sometimes, you may get it wrong, but people know they trust you because they understand where you're coming from.
Mm.
It's a fascinating one. So yeah, you're absolutely right, Katie.
Mm-hmm. So linking it into hospitality as well, do you think that hospitality naturally rewards resilience, or does the industry need to do more to try and develop it?
Yeah, good question. Yeah, the great thing about the sector, the industry, is it's amazingly resilient.
Mm.
It's amazingly people focused. So one of the lovely things about this industry is actually the people are lovely. You don't come into hospitality unless you like people, and if you do, then you've made the wrong career move. So actually, the people are lovely, and they really do care about people. I think that's one of the big things we saw during COVID. The leaders really did care about people, and it really hurt them what went through COVID. But they have been amazingly resilient, and actually one of their ambitions was always to rehire the people they lost and how they could actually build the culture again, etc. So from that point of view, incredibly resilient, and the industry seems to have had so many things thrown at it that it's coped with. And I think the leadership over that period of time, what's been shown in the last 5 years, has been incredibly impressive, really impressive. The industry performance as a whole couldn't be better. It's probably outperforms other industries by a million miles. And I think what I would say to take it to the next level is can we teach people better? Yes. One of the things we've always done, which I know is what Izzy referred to earlier, is we've looked at how can you bring lessons of sport and bring sports players in to teach and coach. And we did a lot of work this back in 2018. Actually, a lot of chief execs really liked the idea and wanted to do it. Interestingly, a lot of HR and L&D fought it, which I understand completely, because it's not measurable. It wasn't proven. It's a radical idea. Get it completely. So why take a risk on a radical idea? But what sports players have are actually invariably are incredibly honest. I mean, they will be very honest about their own performance. They'll be self-critical. They'll be brilliant communicators as well. And actually they understand what it takes to be successful. And I still think to this day is actually you could bring the lessons from that and actually teach people those lessons. It'll help anyone in any business. So I understand why people don't want to take the risk on it. I understand that completely. However, I think there is something there which really could be developed and developed very successfully. As such. Now, some people say that we failed in that, interestingly. I don't think we failed in that at all. I think we set the debate going that actually was a good challenge. But actually, what it showed is actually people didn't want to go outside the norm to accept something different. But actually, I think they should have done. But that's life.
Yeah, I mean, when I think about myself in, javelin training, people often laugh and think, oh, well, you only compete in the summer months, what are you doing the rest of the year? Do you not miss the competition? But every day you're competing against yourself, like in all your training, which means I fail all the time, whether it's a simple lifting thing and, you get used to almost failing in that sense, which is why I think sometimes maybe sports people are perfectionists as well, but then they have to sometimes just accept that you can't always get it right.
I think sports players do. They like failure because that's the only time they learn to improve themselves. Because
Yeah.
often it's a battle against yourself, not just the team. So sports players, and the same I assume, Katie, in writing. When you're
Yeah.
writing
Oh,
your novel, when
absolutely.
you're writing
Yes,
your
yeah.
novel, you must be thinking, "God, that was a load of rubbish." Um,
All the time. All the time, yeah.
so, and as you start again, but you think about it, how I'm going to get my story across and get there. So it is about how do you engage and how do you unlock those bits. But you've got to fail to actually get to improve. It's just the two go together.
Mm. And can you think of a specific leader in hospitality who's clearly applied a sporting mindset to success?
Well, it's not just hospitality. There are a lot of sports people
Yeah.
come into business and being very successful because they have that natural competitiveness. They love competing, and actually, sports players also understand you win and fail. It's all part of it. Because interestingly, what's in sport, you will win and lose all the time. So sports players aren't. Sports players are less concerned about losing than people in daily life.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because actually, they'll pick themselves up and go again tomorrow. It happens. It's happened to them throughout their whole lives in sport, so they're used to it. It's that mindset of we're going to lose. Let's pick ourselves up and we'll go again tomorrow. No issue. It actually makes them successful. In business, if you lose, people don't half sulk at times.
Yeah. It's Rafael Nadal. He always talks in tennis how obviously you're playing so many points, aren't you? Well, it's just one after the other, and you'll lose one. You have to forget about it straight
Well,
away.
this is the great Roger Federer
Yeah.
piece, isn't it? And that
Obviously,
Roger Federer Roger Federer only won 51% of his points, and yet
yeah,
he's one of the greatest players of all time.
that says it all, doesn't it? I
Well,
mean,
it's the mindset of can you win in the most crucial moment. It is the difference. it is that amazing thing. Can you keep calm and actually do it when it really counts, which comes in sport. So it's a little bit more complex.
Yeah.
But failure goes with life, and you should fail. I mean, if you don't fail, then actually I'd argue if you're not failing or prepared to fail, then you're starting in the wrong place.
Mm-hmm. And like you said before, it's about having the discipline to, even when you do fail, to pick yourself back up again and consistently showing up and making the small decision to, continue your path for growth.
Yeah,
So,
I think that's right. But again, I'll come back to you two. What I know about both of you, neither of you ever whinge or say something bad about another person, because you're both focused on your own craft and you've got different crafts. Again, people won't know. For Katie, it's for you writing a novel and writing, and obviously for Izzy, it's javelin. You just focus on your craft and how you can improve it, and that's the important bit.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Do you think, in your experience, what does discipline look like day to day for young leaders?
It's a
I
hard
think
one.
it's about getting your well, I think it's about, it doesn't matter what age you are, believe me. The the it's actually getting your core disciplines in place. It's
You
got to
have
be
a
good.
you have a
It's about,
discipline, don't you?
huh?
Every morning you go and do your exercise as well.
Yeah, I'll get up at 6 in the morning. I don't always like doing it, and go for a run. Um, it's lovely in the summer. This morning it's gorgeous because you have beautiful sun and flowers.
Winter is hard work.
Just winter, you kind of snow. You think, yeah, really? Um,
I can imagine, yeah.
But yeah, no, I'll do it. But actually, it's not even that. It's actually even more basic disciplines, just like politeness. I mean, how many times do you not get an email back from someone you've written to?
A lot.
How many times? It's just good manners. Good manners is the most important thing, because actually, if you're well mannered and respond to people, even if they don't like you, they respect you. So it is actually just doing the basic things well is the most important disciplines.
Yeah. I mean, tying that in slightly with the self-discipline piece, how do you think you can toe the line for like young people with burnout and self-discipline? Because they can kind of be, I mean, I know people talk about burnout quite often, don't they? I had an interesting conversation with someone the other day who almost their viewpoint is like burnout. What is that? Or when they talk about a social battery, they were kind of laughing at the thought of it, thinking that, you've just got to keep pushing forward.
Yeah, look, you can get too alpha and too bullish about this. The reality is a mindset thing, isn't it? Burnout's as much mental as it is physical, and people can just get to the point where they can't see the next step forward and just feel tired the whole time through pressure. And pressure and stress can be incredibly negative factors. And actually, part of the learning is how to manage stress. And I think that's part of the learning failure. If you can accept your failures, and I've had good practice of this. If you can accept your failures, then actually it's amazing how you can handle stress and pressure. And that again goes back to why sports players can learn the failure. That's why they can handle stress and pressure. Funnily enough, because it's not the end of the world. But for a lot of people, actually, stress and failure is a frightening thing. And if you can't accept your own weaknesses and your own fallibilities, then I think that can just tire people out mentally. So I've got real sympathy for that, because actually it's a mindset of fear. And I've always argued that 90% of people are afraid of life rather than living life. And that's the sad bit, is how we got a society that is so afraid of doing things is not a good thing. So, and actually, we make it harder by saying making a lot of rules around it. I think it's got a lot harder in time, and I think social media makes it even harder. If I look back in my university days, I mean, you wouldn't want to have social media in those days. It would have been a bloodbath. It just would have been horrific. But it allowed us to grow up. That's the point. We could grow up in freedom. Young ones, your generation doesn't get that in the same way, and I think that's tragic, actually, really tragic. And I do think that's where burnout comes. If you're constantly having to be restricted and controlled and feeling that pressure over you, I think that's too harsh.
Yeah, so that's an interesting point, actually, in terms of the social media piece and how you just can't escape it and how that can pull you down.
That must be horrible. It must be awful.
Yeah.
It must be awful. Really awful. I mean, again, if you go back in our day, we understood what freedom was. We had complete and utter freedom, in a way that young ones don't get today. If we made a fool of ourselves, maybe 6 people knew about it.
I was going to say there was not going to be necessarily any footage going anywhere of what
No.
Chris did on Friday night.
Honestly, I could look. Yeah, I found as silly things we did on university days. I mean, honestly, horrific. I mean, nowadays you would have been pillared, but in those days we just laughed and got on with life. It makes a huge difference. Huge difference.
Yeah, it definitely does. I mean, going back to the fear of failure, it does actually reveal your character, and it helps teach you faster and pushes you kind of on the right path more so. But how can you build like a good culture in a team that can help people feel safe to, you know,
Yeah.
grow? I think that's really important.
Yeah, I think there's a number of points on this one, isn't it? And I wouldn't say I've always got this right. What I love is individual talents. I love seeing talent in people. So I love seeing latent talent that can be developed, or people who are slightly different. How you bring that together as a team can be tricky at times, because actually teamwork is often, there's an old saying that real team spirit is only seen very rarely in the moments of success. What really now to me build a team, particularly in this thing, is actually you need people who buy into a core value set, I think, an ethos, but actually just know you'll be there for them. If that makes sense, they need to feel safe. The job of a leader today is to make people feel safe so they can explore. Again, it's just so different. So if you look at the productivity figures, the fact that 50 days are lost per employee on average through stress, absenteeism, sickness, presenteeism, etc. And that's 2.5 months lost before you get a single day's productivity. And then you add in holidays, you're over a third of the year lost. That's a negative place. It's a completely negative place. And actually, a lot of it is stress. And the stress isn't just financial stress or traditional stress, it's actually feeling safe and feeling cared for. So actually, leadership's got to change in this modern world. And it has to move away from the kind of alpha days I grew up with, probably. It is about how do you support people, how do you make them feel safe, and how to explore their abilities. But I think that's exciting because now it is about having that framework to go and explore your talent. But again, it's a two-way process, isn't it? The people need to be students of their discipline, like you two are of your disciplines, and really train your discipline, but at the same time, be supported by the framework as well.
It's really important what we have around you, isn't it? In all sense of the word. If that's your support, that when something doesn't go right, that's what is there to almost catch you and pick you back up or pick up the pieces or help piece it back together, whichever way you want to look at it. It's
the old thing about people always say, people talk great words about culture, and I believe in culture all the time. I really do. But to me, it's the culture of actually standing next to each other when the things go wrong. Will you be there at that time? And they used to say that about war, didn't you? When you're in the middle of a battle, you didn't fight for a flag, you fought for the person next to you. It's no different for sport. You play for the person next to you. You don't really play for I'm sure you play for your country, you're proud, but you actually play for your team. And it's the same in business. You actually, what motivates me every day is watching you two and others, the team, go out and develop and grow and expand their horizons. That's what's really exciting. And when things go wrong, yeah, they go wrong. That's life. But actually, it's how do we actually make it better is more important.
then with
Absolutely.
Yeah, but then sometimes when things do go wrong, sometimes it's the leader left standing, isn't it, on their own?
Yeah, but that goes to the territory.
It can be a lonely place for the leader too.
It's an incredibly lonely place. And actually, the lonely place isn't that, actually, funnily enough, because that goes to the territory. The lonely place is all the people who give you advice and aren't there to be seen when
Searching.
It is. I mean, it's fine. Most leaders, if you talk to most leaders, they will talk about how it's amazing how people are never to be seen when the shit's hitting the fan. That's always a frustration. And most people's scars are the people who they trusted, who they felt betrayed by. It's the personal piece. It's people they supported, helped grow, really invested emotionally into, who then left. No, it's their right. The person's right to leave. Of course it is. But if you ask most leaders, that's where they've been most hurt, is by an individual. And it's no one's fault. I quickly add that. It happens to all of us. I'm sure I've done it to others and people done it to me, just life. But it is the growth of life. And it goes back to that point about making choices. But it is when you've had a great relationship with somebody, and that bond is one of the loveliest feelings in life. When it breaks, it breaks.
Yeah.
Like you say, growth is such a mindset, the choice to keep moving forward. And the next generation needs things like courage and honesty to be able to do that. So what would you say to a young person entering hospitality leadership today?
It's a fantastic industry. It is, honestly, hospitality is a fantastic industry. It really is. It gives you every option you could possibly want. I think, to me, the key bit is, I think there's two parts. So the industry needs to. One of the biggest issues in the industry is the development of young talent. So every C-suite dinner we host, everyone will say people is the biggest issue, and yet we know L&D budgets have halved. Every L&D director will tell me that their L&D is the most fantastic L&D in the industry, and they're brilliant at it. Every leader will tell me we've got to improve on the people piece. There's a disconnect somewhere,
Yeah.
and actually everyone's asking where the leaders are coming through, and they are coming through, but there's still a disconnect. So we do need to think about how do we communicate more effectively. I think people can be very insular and just think about themselves. They don't think about the bigger marketplace and bigger lesson. I don't think people network enough. And networking is sometimes seen as as a dirty word almost. But people always see networking almost like what I call a lounge lizard working a room. That's not what networking. Networking is going out and listening to what the market is saying, meeting new people and listening and learning. And actually listening and learning and listening to a market is the most important bit, because that allows you to get a broader picture. So if you're going to come into it, it is always making sure you are networking, because you build connections, build relationships, and you're learning the whole time, which can only make you better.
Yeah. And adding that, I mean, when you say listening, I think that's another key thing that comes into the
Well, it's an
leadership.
old saying, is that you have two ears and one mouth for a reason.
Yeah. I think most people you could question whether it's the other way around.
Well, absolutely. But a lot of people talk at you.
Yeah, rather than, as you say, listening and responding appropriately to what somebody
I
said.
think it's a lot better
Feel
today.
heard.
Yeah, in fairness, I think it's a lot better today. I do think people are too narrow in the way they think. I do. I think people they're taught almost to be narrow, and an education system was actually meant to teach you to think for yourself. I think that what I find is people don't think for themselves; they just go A to B to C. So I do think how you broaden that mindset is the biggest challenge we face, and how you get people to think for themselves beyond the norm. And I think that again goes back to networking and being prepared to go put yourself out there. So in terms of advice, getting about it is about putting yourself out there to listen. I mean, every event that we host, Izzy will get praised. I mean, she's almost becoming a name in her own right, you know. And she's praised because actually everyone knows they can trust her, and she communicates effectively, and she's part of their team of every event. That's a unique experience.
Or because I send a lot of emails to them.
Yeah, well, you said he did that too.
Do that as well. There is a bit of both.
But the point is, people trust you, and they trust you because, but a lot of that will be tied in, funnily enough, with your sport and your discipline and your communication.
Yeah, I think it
So
does come.
actually, it is always bringing those lessons to learn is key.
Yeah, the split time really does mean that when I've gone and done one and come back, I'm like, right, I've got to get through this to-do
Yeah.
list. I need to speak to that person, I need to do this, and I need to do that. And you almost want to get through your list quicker than, say, if you've got the full kind of 8.5 hours, whatever is a normal. I'm not really even sure, how many hours nowadays people do. I mean, that's another thing, Chris. You probably used to work many more hours years ago, did you?
No, absolutely opposite.
The opposite
No,
way.
absolutely opposite. Actually, when you look back to the 90s, I mean, you couldn't work weekends, not really. You could, but you didn't have internet, so you'd have to go into the office. So weekends were disciplined. You did Monday to Friday, and actually, honestly, this is one of the big changes that people don't realize. The working days increased by 30% over the period of time. It's increased 30% because of the emails and everything else. And actually, the working day was far more regulated. And also, you had post. If someone wrote you a letter, you took 2 to 3 days to respond. You didn't just have to respond in 10, 15 minutes like you do with emails. The intensity today is far greater, far greater. And you don't get time. Even we talk about communication. In the old days, we used to write long letters back to explain something. if you write a long letter, no one even reads it. So you can't explain anything. You've got to get your message across in bullet points, about 4 bullet points, and that's it. That's a skill and a craft you have to learn now. Incredibly hard. It's much harder, much more intense.
That's a lot more. Everyone's just getting a lot more messaging coming through, whether it's on social media, people, emails. You can get in touch with anybody via email nowadays. You know, it's so easy to just send something out there that people are trying to sift through information.
But
And that's
business is more fun. Yeah, business is more fun 20, 30 years ago. I sound like an old man here, don't I? It was more fun because actually you had more time to chat and joke and laugh. You don't, you
And
just
kind of connect with one another, I
connect.
imagine,
Yeah,
as well.
absolutely. But you just don't get the time. So often, if you're complaints, I often get told I respond very quickly and brusquely at times. It's not that you just don't get time. People want an answer, you just got to go boom, 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 and go like. But sometimes people want time, and absolutely right, they should have that time, and so you got to find the time. People say, sometimes we think too deeply about things and too much. My argument is that others don't think deep enough. So which one's right? It's all about everything's about balance, isn't it? But actually, that's why again you've got to be a student and the master of your craft, and it's dedicating yourself to that. I think.
when you
So if
say
you had to give someone one habit to start tomorrow that would help them to grow long term, what do you think it would be?
Listening skills.
it's a
I
good
mean,
one.
the thing when we started the magazine years ago, everyone said, well, how did you find the content? I can find 100 articles every day just by listening to people. And there's so many, you must see this all the time, Katie, because you're a great observer. There are stories everywhere around you.
Absolutely.
And everyone's got a fantastic story. It's how you tell a story. And actually,
Definitely.
isn't that the lovely thing about storytelling? Is it is that you get inspired by different people the whole time you listen to their story. I love listening to people's stories. So listening is the best skill in the world.
Yeah.
I agree. You can just find out so much about people and their perspective of the world, and then through that you can grow yourself, and then you can just create things together. And I think it's really beautiful.
Yeah, and I think a lot of time is wasted by people thinking about themselves. And you go and all that sort of stuff. Actually, it's much better to listen to other people, put yourself second. Actually, you make more progress that way. Funnily enough.
Yeah, I think that's a renowned thing, isn't it? If you're going out there, you should just be listening all the time because you're gaining. Whereas if somebody else is just talking, 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 they're just sharing everything that they already have or know. Whereas you're learning from, person A, B, C, so many different people, all these new perspectives. That's the way to approach any situation or anything you do in life.
Well, yeah. Look, there's an old lesson, isn't there? That how do you get someone to like you? Listen to them.
I feel heard, yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
If you listen to somebody that like you, and actually more importantly, you learn. So it's actually a really easy skill set that just very few do.
It's something we just don't teach in schools. I mean, where is it something that we should?
Well, I'm not a great fan of the education system at the best of times because I don't think it teaches the right things.
No, I don't either. Yeah.
And I think the school should be about being a rounded human being.
Agree. Yeah. It's like
Actually,
it's the tools you actually need that'll stand you in good stead in life rather than, certain things that you just think people won't use again. There's a big difference.
I think we make a big play of educational exam results. I think what really matters is who you are. And actually
Absolutely.
that comes from lots of different experiences in life. It's not just about really good exams. Intellect's one piece, but also what you learn from sport, what you learn from being a nice human being. There's lots of different things that teach people.
And emotional intelligence as well. I think
Emotional
your
intelligence, very
ability to
important.
tap into your own vulnerability and empathy, to then be able to see people and, like you say, hear people.
Yeah, I tap into my vulnerability. Everyone tells me my failures, so I hear it all the time. The no, but it is one of the points people always do but you've just got to be prepared for it. It goes back to the failure piece, Katie, doesn't it? Is that if you're comfortable with your own failures when you fail and you're prepared to learn, whatever age, even at my old age, you're prepared to learn and improve all the time. I think that's success, if that makes sense. I think that's what allows you to succeed.
I think the failure bit though, maybe when it comes into a team, I wonder how many people struggle to say the word sorry. That's sometimes a big one as well. I wonder whether that's part of it too. It's kind of accountability and you know, being able to stare it almost right in the face and go, right, okay, now what? How do we move around this? What's next?
Yeah. Funny enough, sorry is the best sales line I know. It's really one of the weirdest things. Do you get something wrong with a client and you just say, I'm sorry, they will forgive you 9 times out of 10.
It's
If you're genuine and say, that's my mistake, my failure, I'm wrong, they'll forgive you. The people who try and bluff it out always
get caught.
will get well, but no one thinks better of them. It is that whole bit about being comfortable with failure. And that's why the sports piece, I think, is so important. Because sport teaches you to fail.
Yeah.
You can't at day one. I mean, I still struggle. You know, I used to run the mile in 4:15. Now it's about 8 minutes 15.
It's
And
not
I
bad
keep saying,
going
I
through.
still think so. You have no choice but to understand your failure, your vulnerabilities. But that's the point. It teaches you, but it doesn't mean you stop striving. You got to, and they teach you that, and I think that's just really important to understand that.
Yeah.
Failure is such a treasure trove because, like you say, you can learn so much from it and you grow so much from it. But then why do you think there's such a stigma around it and why is everyone so afraid of it if it will truly help you to grow?
Yeah, so Katie, that is the real question, isn't it? I think there's 2 points. I think part of it is the education system. I think the education system and the school league tables were one of the worst things that ever done because I think it made everyone be judged by the results, exam results, and you weren't
Absolutely.
allowed to see the failure. So when my girls were at school, I always felt guilty because if I'm honest about it, when I was at school, I probably wasn't the brightest or most hardworking kid in the class by a million miles. But I got to university and I had a great time. So the thing, what I was being asked of my girls was completely horrendous compared to what I was asked of me. And I didn't like that at all. I just didn't think that was right, the pressure placed upon them. But if you've got that pressure placed that you must get A stars and A levels, then that goes, you fear, if you get things wrong, you fear you're failing. And I think that's mentally wrong from the word go. And I think that's a problem. I think the other point is also people are very conscious in work that you're a number. It's not about you, that you're not an individual, that you're just a person who could be replaced. And actually, as you go up, it's one of the great travesties and horrors of life, isn't it? The reality of life as you go older, it gets more serious, and your scope of failure gets great. The risk of failure gets greater and greater because you get a mortgage, you get greater debt, you've got family responsibilities. Failing becomes a bigger and bigger issue. And if you're not in the right place to accept that mentally, that pressure just grows in you the whole time, where failure is not an option. How many times have we heard that phrase, failure is not an option? Well, the failure is not a luxury, it's a reality. So if you're not prepared to fail, then the pressure on those people must be huge. And that's sad. I think that's really sad because you can't ever be free or yourself until you're comfortable with failing, I think.
And it's growth
But
comes from being out of your comfort zone, really.
I think growth comes from being comfortable in yourself when you're out of your comfort zone and knowing you'll probably fail.
Yeah. It's all of that together.
Mm.
Yeah.
Well
I
rounded
mean,
up.
how many times have we looked at events and things and thought, oh no. But somehow we get through because actually we work out a solution together as a team. And things will go wrong and things will go right. It's just life.
Yeah, I have to say, when it comes to that event piece you mentioned, the thing that really does calm you is thinking, yeah, we are a team. We will figure it out. It's that mindset. Whereas if you think you're on your own on it, that's where it can feel a bit like, oh,
Oh, do you remember doing that event when we had 3 senior speakers all pulled out with 10 minutes to go? It wasn't our event. We were organizing and comparing another event. And there's one event where 3 senior people all pulled out with about 15 minutes to go. And you're sitting there going, what do you expect me to do? But somehow you know you've got to find a solution because you've got an audience of 100 people in front of you. You're there to make sure, put a show on for them and give them theatre. You've got to find the solution. Now, was it right? No, of course it wasn't right. Was it life? Yes, it was life. And actually, most of leadership is actually about problem solving.
yeah,
I always remember one very established leader telling me that, when asking him how he is, and he said, well, my life's just to sort problems. And I remember thinking at the time, that's a bit negative, but actually often leadership is just that. Your job is to solve problems. And I always remember another chief, as I always say, he wished he never had anyone come to him with a solution. He only came to people with problems. And often that's natural, isn't it? Because people will come to you when they haven't got a solution. They want that solution from you.
Panic mode.
Yeah.
Help.
Yeah. So, and actually, that's life. And you can always tell because people ring you up, start chit chatting around other things first, building up to it. So you always say, well, you want to say, well, shall we just cut to it? But it's all natural.
Sounds like me, definitely. How's your day going, Chris?
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
When you do that, I know the problem's coming my way. But actually, that's the whole point, isn't it? And that goes back to the trust piece, knowing that actually it's okay to fail, it's okay to get things wrong. And actually, leaders don't mind people failing; they're actually very supportive. I think what it is actually the people's own mindset is where the problem is, but we haven't got that right. And it goes back to the whole sporting thing again. It sounds like a thing. That's why I think there is a real angle to bring the sports learnings into business, because the leaders are trying to understand failure. There's something in the gap in between the system and structure, but it doesn't understand failure. And that's what we have to solve somehow.
Definitely. I think that's a really
Absolutely.
solid finishing kind of point there, Chris, I have to say. I mean, we did have some questions in mind and we probably haven't got to all of them because we've just spoken about everything around the topic. That's the way it goes, isn't it? But yeah, no, that was...
Are you saying I haven't been succinct?
No, that is not what I'm saying.
Have I avoided the questions?
No, the clear communication piece is coming up here. No, that was really, yeah, it was really good insights there. Thanks, Chris. I mean,
Definitely, yes. Thank you so much for talking with us today. It's been just really interesting to hear your thoughts on
Well,
growth
look,
and
honestly,
leadership.
again, I'll push back and actually say I'm the least interesting of the three of us. Actually, you two are far, because seriously, you two took brave choices at a very young age, because neither of you have followed the traditional career path. So, I mean, it takes bravery to start writing a novel at a young age and say this is the way I want to go in life, and it takes bravery to say careers can go second to my javelin throw.
Absolutely.
I mean, not many people do that. Let's be blunt, but you've got a passion for something, and you've gone out to live life and put that first. I tell you, that's far more interesting than what I did until a later date.
you can call it unconventional.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Well, there we go. That's probably why we all fit together nicely. We're unconventional.
Yes. Yeah.
A little bit crazy, perhaps.
And a little bit crazy. I'm definitely crazy. That is not in. That's definitely not.
I will vouch. Yes.
Yeah.
That's yeah. The delirious phone calls occasionally can come into play when, poor Chris is probably being battered by marching around London here, there, and everywhere. So yeah, it's all about the team, though, isn't it? To come back to that as a
I
last.
think it's about doing something. I think the big thing, which I always sounds, this is going to be a bit deep, but maybe it's a good thing to finish on, or a bad thing to finish on. Don't look so frightened, Izzy. It's about
listeners could see the face.
yeah, horror on Izzy's face. It's all about purpose.
Yeah.
And actually, people always, I got asked yesterday, when are you going to retire? The idea of not having purpose every day, it worries me because I just don't know what life. To me, life is about purpose. It's about having purpose and living. Even if I failed a million times more than everybody else, at least I've lived life. Whatever happens, at least I've lived life. And I think the idea, I see people give up things too quickly, and then actually change in character and actually not be as happy. So I do think, I'm sorry, I'm around with you for a while to come.
That's good
I
for us.
apologize now.
No need to apologize. Last thing I heard, you're 30 years old.
I'm always, in my mind, I am, apart from when I wake up in the mornings and see myself in the mirror.
Or when you do 8 minutes, 15 runs instead of you.
Well, then I just think the clock's wrong. It's obviously one of the travesties of life.
Must get a new clock. There you go.
Yeah.
There's a present for
Change
Chris.
the batteries.
Oh, well, I mean, all of us three are going to be back for our next episode, which is going to actually be on communication. It's going to be titled Speak Less, Say More. So I'm sure we will probably somewhat...
Which is a bad example of that, doesn't it?
Well, we will get better fit on the next one.
Definitely.
Perfect. Well, thanks again, Chris, and thanks.
Yeah, absolutely.